Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Mix It Up with ML number 5, where I have my good friend Charlie Bagin, a varsity basketball player at Princeton and a good bud of mine on the pod. So thanks for joining, Charlie.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, dude, I have so much I want to ask you. I don't know. I said this on the last pod, but I don't know if I'll be able to fit it all, but we're just gonna try. Let's try to get into it. And the way I like to start it is just like if you want to explain how we met, just for the listeners, so they have a little context to the combo.
Yeah, for sure. I know this question always pops up, so I've been thinking about it. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was we had like a basketball workout where we needed guys for like an open gym run. We needed like someone to fill out a team. And so like some of the guys got in touch with you. I was just a freshman, probably like my second week of school. It was really early.
Mhm.
And we were on the same team, I think. And I was like, dang, this guy, like I knew you weren't on the team. And I was like, this guy is pretty good. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, you're
And I was
flattering
like,
me, dude.
no, I'm serious. And I was like, because I thought you were a high schooler because we always had high schoolers in there.
Right,
And I was
right.
like, this guy really knows how to play. And then we're talking and you like knew all the guys. And I was like, wow, this guy's really mature. Like, who is he? And you're like, yeah, I'm a sophomore here. And then we kind of had like the North Jersey connection a little bit because you were dating someone who my
Mhm,
sisters went to school with.
mhm.
So from there, we kind of hit it off. And then we've been kind of friends ever since, right?
That's it, dude. I had forgot it was at pickup basketball. I forgot that. And I knew that it was the North Jersey connection, which was super cool because I actually remember, dude, my freshman year seeing like, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something because you were obviously a stud b-ball player in high school, but it was like Don Bosco, senior, going to Princeton. And I was like, hold on, like, I know Don Bosco because my cousins went there, obviously. So I was like, I want to get to know this guy. We'll see if I like meet him and everything. And then we did. So it was great.
Right, right. Great way to start off my Princeton career is meeting someone like you.
Right, right. Thanks, bro. You flatter me. But dude, I figured the first thing I wanted to ask you about was that, basketball part of your life, because it's obviously a big one. And there's so much of your life that I also want to ask you about that is not basketball related. But I figure b-ball is a good place to start, bro. So like just generally, I wanted to ask, what has it been like being a D1 athlete at a place like Princeton? And was it different than you expected, similar to how you expected? Feel free to like expound on the day-to-day life because I know on YouTube you see these videos like day in the life of a D1 athlete, and people seem to like that stuff. So I know people would like to hear about that. So sort of free reign, go with it how you will.
Sure, sure. I would say in a word, it's been awesome. Just like I've enjoyed all the parts of it, even the most difficult parts. I've loved being a Division 1 athlete. I think what is different for me from a lot of people that are D1 athletes is like I never expected to be a D1 athlete. My
Okay,
whole
tell me
high school
more. Tell me more.
career just wasn't thinking about it. Maybe it was like I didn't have the self-confidence. It wasn't in my head. Like I wasn't like around a lot of people on my AAU teams who were getting offers at a young age, like some people. So I just didn't think about it. And then like junior year rolled around and my dad was like, you want to play in college? I was like, sure, I'll play D3. Like that would be awesome.
Right.
And Princeton kind of snuck in late as the option to go D1. Um, and so it kind of surprised me. And I was like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. You can't say no to Princeton. And so then when I got here, I think I was still in the mindset of like student first, as I was all through high school.
Right.
And like now I'm still playing basketball, but this time it's at like a super high level. So coming in, I like probably wasn't ready to play at the Division 1 level basketball wise. And like it was a huge wake up call with how fast the guys were,
Mm,
like how strong, the pace of play, like thinking at such a high level. Like, I guess I'd consider myself a high basketball IQ guy, but like, especially at Princeton, like that you got to rethink in the game. Um, so yeah, so I think in that regard, it was like really eye opening when I got here to be playing Division 1. And at the same time, I kind of just like kept doing what I did in high school, and that was like studies first.
right.
Um, and then like as I've gotten more comfortable in my role on the team and comfortable with like the time management that goes into it,
Mm,
I feel like I've really been able to like blossom a little bit, both like on and off the court, basketball and not so. Because like in many ways, like college was eye opening for me. And so when I got used to college, I was able to kind of like relax more on the floor, whether it was,
Mm,
practice and lift and really get in a groove there.
mm. Dude,
But
that's
overall, I'd
yeah.
say overall love the like Princeton basketball experience, and so happy that I'm going to get to play another year. We'll talk about that in a bit. But like being a part of a team most of all has been probably just like the best part. Like I love that camaraderie, knowing it was great like having a net to come into, like a social net to rely on, and just like knowing the guys so well and getting to spend so much time with them. That's been the best part.
Right. And to touch on that, I obviously I'm not an insider, so I don't know about it. But just from my perspective on the outside, you know, Princeton basketball has struck me as one of the closest knit groups on campus. There's a lot of like really great teams and camaraderie within teams, but the guys just seem to love each other. So that's been really cool to see. And, that obviously translates to on-court success. But one of the things I wanted to touch on earliest in what you were saying was how Princeton kind of snuck in late and how you were thinking of playing D3. Because that was similar to me. Like I actually I basically traded D3 for going to Princeton, basically because I wasn't recruited enough to play at Princeton, wasn't at that level. And so I wanted to ask you about sort of, were you thinking D3 the whole time and then Princeton came in, and then what was that transition like trying to acclimate, like you said, to the game speed and everything? And was that tough? And so were you a preferred walk-on or a regular player, or like, I'm just wanted to clarify that point for people.
Yeah. No, I was recruited.
Okay.
Not a preferred walk on, although of
Got it.
course in the Ivy League, the line between a walk on and a scholarship player isn't there because there are no scholarships.
Right. I want to
Um,
ask you about that too.
right. So yeah, no, I was recruited. It was just
Okay.
late in the cycle. And so I was thinking D3 the whole way, and it was probably like April or May or June of my junior year in high school
Mm,
that Princeton first contacted me, and it was Coach Brett McConnell, our assistant coach, and he
great
said, "Hey
guy.
Charlie, like would love to get some tape on you, or like heard from your high school coach that you'd be interested in coming here." And then I went to the Princeton camp in
Mm-hmm.
August, and they were like, "Great, stay in touch." And then it was October of my senior year that I came and checked out campus and got to meet some of the guys, and they offered me then. And so I
Mm,
actually committed like November 2nd or something, and the early application deadline was November 1st. So
mm-hmm.
I just applied regular decision. Um, so yeah, so that was, and it was kind of a no-brainer when I got the Princeton offer, right? Like you have to play at the highest level, you
For
get the
sure.
greatest education. So at that point, like, and then I wanted to challenge myself. So I may not play as much, and I knew that coming in, but I wanted to play at the highest level and get this great education. So it was easy. And then to answer your point about to answer your question about the pace, like I said, like super different at the Division 1 level versus like I played on a really high quality high school team
Yep.
with a lot of great players who are doing great things playing Division 1 right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it just like isn't the same in high school. So when I got here, like I was just slow compared to everyone. My mind wasn't working as fast.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 15 pounds lighter, so all that just makes it really tough to compete. And then like on top of that, your mind's spinning. You got class. You got to get down to the gym. You got
Oh
to
my
take care
God.
of yourself like an adult. So that first year, like I was like, pretty much lost on the basketball court for many reasons.
Right. Well, I think I just respect you so much for wanting to challenge yourself, because this is something that my friends and I talk about for us in terms of the high school experience. Like, we were like, oh, if we went to another team like that wasn't as good, we would have been like 1,000 point scorers, for example, because like none of us were 1,000 point scorers. I was sort of like the second guy on the squad, I guess, in terms of scoring. And but yeah, at the end of the day, all of us were like, I'd rather surround myself with players who are better than me, and that will raise my level at the end of the day, and we'll be able to achieve more as a collective than if I went somewhere where, maybe I was the best on the team and didn't accomplish as much as a collective. And then who knows? Like, I feel like stats and all that are great, but sometimes they don't tell the whole story about how, like, you've developed as an individual. So I just applaud you for that, because it's not the easiest decision to make, you know?
Yeah, appreciate it. But I definitely believe like you got to surround yourself with the best in order to like go past your comfort zone and really achieve what you can.
Right.
So yeah, and winning's fun too. Like, when you win, it's like that's great. You may not be scoring as much, but you're winning and like you're having a great time with your friends. So that's all that
Yeah.
really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And bro, what would you say? So I'm a psych major, and this question just popped up for me just in my head. I wasn't even thinking about this before, but what would you say about the importance of mental toughness as a basketball player? Especially because, like you said, you felt like the transition was pretty difficult. It wasn't the easiest for you, So did you have to build up some of your mental fortitude as well as, gaining 15 pounds and working on your ball handling and shooting and all that? Would you say the mental part of it was important in your transition, or not as much?
I definitely think so. And the way I see it, it may not be the mental toughness that I kind of think of all the time.
Mhm.
Oh, hang on a second.
You're
We
good.
got we got Siri popping up. Sorry about that.
You're
Siri
sure.
was trying to hop in the conversation.
Right.
But for mental toughness, I'd say for me, it showed up in that like it's more like having self-confidence,
Mm,
having the like mental fortitude to believe in yourself and believe that you belong there. And people talk about the imposter syndrome at Princeton all the time,
yeah.
mostly on like the academic side. But for me, it was like the athletic side.
Mm,
And you like that's a kind of mental toughness to know that you belong, or even if maybe like I knew I was slower, I knew that I wasn't as strong, like figure out how to get on an equal playing field, and play through my weaknesses and that sort of thing.
mm.
So the mental toughness definitely showed up in like having to build up that self-confidence and know that I belonged.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So again, applauding you for that, bro. It's been an inspiration. Every time I go to the games, I see you play, I'm mad hype. I'm like, let's go. That's my boy C Bakes.
Oh man, I appreciate it.
Dude, that's awesome. And so, all right, moving more to the adjacent parts of your Princeton experience, which also you've done a lot, which has been really cool. You've got this like creative writing and poetry. Is it poetry? You write a little bit of poetry, or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, I've done both poetry and some short stories, and like
Right.
nothing like published or anything, but I've taken classes in both poetry and short stories, and like like put a little book together for both those classes, and I've written some stuff on my own.
Mm,
I know we've talked about like you've done some writing of your own.
a
I just
little
think
bit.
it's like,
A little
yeah,
bit.
just a
A
little
little
bit. I know you do.
bit. Not much. Not much.
I know you do, but it's for me, it's like especially like in high school, I was all like academics, like math, science, and
Mm.
basketball. And it's been good to add kind of like the arts and creativity in some capacity in college just to like expand my mind.
Right. And so my question would be, did you just sort of take a creative writing class or a poetry class on a whim, or had you really done some of that on your own? You said you were mainly math and science in high school, but did you have interests that led you to the creative writing class, or did you literally just jump in?
Not really. I just jumped in, and it was because my teammate when I was a freshman, my teammate Aaron Young, he was a
Mhm.
senior.
Good guy.
He told me about, yeah, great guy, and he told me about like a creative writing class he took, and he was showing me poems from Charles Bukowski, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll take it. They're really awesome classes because they're PDF only, so like there's no grade. Like if you're not writing good poetry, you're not gonna fail the class.
Mhm.
They just want to see you try hard. So I hadn't done any of it before, and I took a class and loved it, and so that's why I took another one. But yeah, it was kind of on a whim.
Dude, another inspiring, fact about you, just jumping into that, because it's not easy. I sort of did the same thing. I had written a little bit of like, this is kind of embarrassing to admit, but like I read this series called the Aragon series, and it was a
Yep.
fantasy series when I was a kid. And I was waiting for the fourth book to come out, so I like wrote my own manuscript for the fourth book and like sent it to the author, and the author
Oh
was like wrote
wow.
me back and everything. It was trash, but it was fun, and I feel like it was just things like that that led me to creative writing. So I just think it's harder to jump into stuff if you have never really done much of it. So I definitely resonate with that.
Definitely. That's so cool that he wrote back and he saw your stuff. Like that's awesome.
Yeah,
He
these
probably loved it. He was probably so thankful that people are like really into his work.
yeah, yeah. And I think he was super young at that point. So he's like 18 at that point. So he was responding to everybody. So I got lucky. Um, but yeah, dude, okay. That's really, really cool. And I guess what topics do you like to touch on in your writing? Is it all over the place, or what sort of outlets are you trying to create in that writing?
When I'm writing, especially poetry, I'm mostly like the content or the topic isn't really the focus. For me, it's more about the sounds and creating like rhyming sounds. And
Mm.
um I wish I knew more of like the literary terms, but just like I want it to sound cool. So like recently I wrote a poem about like poker because I've been playing some poker.
Mhm.
And it was just like I like to just kind of like use as many words that surround pokers, like deal, chips, flush, straight, like just use them, try and find double meanings for them, try and
Mm.
have as many rhymes and consonant similar consonant sounds. And I just like the sound of it all.
Mm.
For me, that's what I focus on.
That's really cool. And what about if you've written any stories, what kind of, did we talk about how it's mainly fantasy or sci-fi related, or do you like
I
to write about other things or?
I'm trying to work on like a longer script for like a murder mystery right now.
Oh,
So that's kind
sick.
of going on in the background. Yeah. And then like I've written a bunch of short stories that I kind of I just try and like let my kind of humor show through them. I think
Mm.
that's what I do with a lot of my short stories. So again, like content or topic isn't too important to me.
Right.
And I read this book BJ Novak wrote. He's the writer on The Office.
Yep.
He wrote a book of short stories. What is it called? One More Thing might be. We'll check that later.
Well, yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, but it's super funny. They're all like a page or two long.
Hmm.
They're out of this world funny. And I was reading that and it was getting me inspired to like try and like put people and like characters in like some weird situations and just kind of
Mm.
let things go and see what I could come up with. So that's what I
Yeah.
do for a lot of my kind of fictional writing.
Right. So are you into the humor aspect of it, like BJ Novak, or just trying to emulate some of that, or?
Definitely the humor aspect. Yeah. And I've been doing improv comedy on campus a little bit as well.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so
Dude,
I
this
think
guy Charlie does
that's the
everything.
intersection. That's the intersection right there, is like the finding ways to put my humor out into the world.
Right. And speaking of, I got to plug some of your TikTok fame. Are you still at it on the TikTok fame, bro? Because you had some classic videos. Or is that like a short time thing, or?
No, I'm still at it. They
Let's
come in
go.
spurts. They come in
Right.
spurts. My following has held pretty steady at like 3,500, and then I had another one go viral, and I'm up over 5,000 now. But it's just like it's fun to put them out, and some of them get like 8 likes, and like one of them's me, and the other's my sister, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like, and some of them get 100 or whatever. But they're just fun, and like they're quick. I love TikTok because it's like quick, it's easy, lot of really good content on there in terms of humor, as that's what I look for.
Right.
So it's just a lot of fun for me.
Bro, I've been thinking about this lately. I think I need to get on TikTok, but I'm like afraid to get on TikTok because I don't want to get addicted, because I know I'm gonna get addicted. But the content is just so great. And for me, I used to go on Twitter at night for my late night laughs. And I don't know if this is just my experience and my TL on Twitter, but it's just like not as funny anymore. It's just a lot more hate on there and just like, divisiveness. And so I just want some humor back again. So I might need to re-download TikTok, bro, and watch some of C Bagin's videos.
Yeah, start with me. You can find some other better content after. No, but bro, you will get addicted for sure.
Right.
And everyone who does it, they say, I don't want to get addicted. They get addicted. They're like, all
Right.
right, I need to take a step back. And then they wean themselves off. But I
Right.
think you just kind of lean into it for like a day or two. You're watching like tons of TikToks. It's
Yeah.
great stuff. It'll brighten your evening a little bit, and it's fun.
Right. And for the listeners, do we have a handle for Charlie's TikTok that they can go follow?
Yeah, CM Bagin.
CM
CM
Bagin.
Bagin. You have to scroll pretty far to find the good ones because it's cluttered with a lot of the lesser quality content. But I think it's all pretty interesting.
Right. Super dope. All right, I'm gonna go check that out after the pod, no doubt.
Sweet.
And then I just want to stay focused on a little bit of this literary stuff and the all that you're doing. Right. I saw you're doing the improv comedy, and then you're also in Playwrights Guild and Lot 49 Immersive Theater. So you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, let's see. Playwrights Guild was something I joined junior year and never got to participate in anything just because of COVID shut
Okay.
things down at the end. But
Yep.
so Lot 49 was something I did sophomore year. Immersive theater, for those who don't know, is essentially there's no stage. the actors are just in a setting and this audience is like surrounding. And
Oh.
as the audience moves through the setting, the audience follows them. And so for us, we did it down at the old tennis pavilion on campus.
Mhm.
So it was this pavilion with 2 levels and like 2 staircases. And we had an audience of like 15 to 20 people for 4 shows.
Mm.
And while we're, walking up the stairs, the audience is right behind us. And we're dressed in like full garb. Like we did Barn Burning, which is a Faulkner play, I believe.
Mhm.
And we're dressed like we're from like the 1800s or early 1900s, whatever. And like we're like throwing cereal at each other because I was like a brother fighting with my brother, and the cereal pieces are like flying like past the audience members.
Wow.
And I like shake out a blanket, and it hit an audience member one time because she was standing too close.
Right.
And it's like the scene goes on,
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool so it's supposed to make them feel like they're like really like there
Mm.
as a part of the scene that's going on.
Yeah. And so, bro, what is it? To me, I'm sort of drawing some parallels. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. But performance, like being a performing artist, like in something like that, like theater, must give you some benefits, at least as an athlete trying to perform and just getting comfortable in those scenarios and putting yourself out there and messing up and all those things. Would you say that that's part of some of the benefit of being in theater, or are you just mainly doing it for your fun side?
Well, I think they definitely go hand in hand. Like
Yeah.
I've thought about that. There's something performative about being an athlete where like you're on a stage in front of a lot of people.
Mm.
And I don't know if I'd say I've ever struggled with that aspect of it, because
Yeah.
I think something about like being a part of the team kind of helps me hide from the thought that like all eyes are on me.
So interesting.
It's more like I'm like just one of the members of a team. People are there to watch Princeton basketball, or people are there to watch Lot 49. They're not there to watch me. That helps me mentally, because otherwise I think I would be a little freaked out by having all eyes on me. But so that kind of crossover from, I've been performing in front of people playing basketball, so it was easy to take that over
Right.
to acting. But yeah, a lot of it was just like I wanted to have some fun at the end of sophomore year after the season was over, and like knew some people in the group, and they said, yeah, you should join, you should like do this play with us. So I was like, yeah, let's do it, it'll be fun.
Dude, I really like it. And it's very inspiring to me, truly. I'm not just saying it. Like, even starting this podcast for me, I think subconsciously seeing people like you sort of stepping out of that main domain that they're involved in, right? Like basketball is your main domain, right? And for me, pre-med, medicine, all that stuff has been sort of my main domain. And trying to step out of that and pursue my other interests, like this podcast. I think this is something I'm really interested in, genuinely. So, but you don't see a lot of like medical students doing stuff like this. So it's a little weird and just unknown. So it's been really cool to watch you step outside of, that box that people put you in and do other things. So good for you, man.
Appreciate it. I was so excited when I saw you were starting this podcast.
Thanks,
it was awesome. And that, and the cover art.
Yeah.
Who did that for you? Was that you?
Bro, honestly, it was Canva. I downloaded the free version of Canva. It just like I have no graphic design skills.
Okay, because it looks like you do. It looks like you know what you're doing, man. Like, it's so cool.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, all right. So let's keep pursuing our passions, outside of the box. And I guess while we're still on this point, before I transition to the next one, you mentioned you're very into math and science, right? You're in operations, research, financial engineering at Princeton, which I'm going to dive into in a sec. I want to hear more about that. What is it about this creative side, this humanities side, that sort of fills your cup and gets you interested in doing things like that? And how do you compare and contrast sort of that, you're getting a Bachelor of Science and Engineering part of you with this part of you that's more creative and focused on theater and things like that? Open-ended question.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Let's see. I don't know how adequately I'll answer your question, but I can talk a little bit about it, in that I think I've said this a couple of times. Like in high school, I was all like academics, like chemistry, algebra, and basketball.
Right.
And I didn't even consider doing anything else, whether that's like theater or writing or just like, I don't know, like, doing something different, like chess. I picked up chess, like I wasn't doing really anything else. And coming to college, like Princeton was so eye-opening in so many ways. in one way specifically was like seeing all these people who did so many cool things, like the dance shows specifically. I'll touch on that. Like freshman, sophomore year, I mean, every year I've loved going to the dance shows and seeing these people perform, our peers. Like they're so talented, they're so much fun. And I think that was part of it, like seeing dance shows and seeing people pursuing other passions that made me think like, oh wow, I could get involved with something else.
Right.
And I've always liked like trying to make my family laugh. So that was like, like why don't I start there? Why don't I see if I can do something in that realm? And that led to improv and writing and the play. So I'm very much like a kind of like analytical, quantitative mind, and I have been my whole life. But I think maybe with like beneath the surface, the more creative side was always there, and I just hadn't tapped into it. And seeing people who were tapping into it around me in college kind of allowed me to start just like trying new things.
Right.
Essentially.
I love, you're crediting that to the people around you and the power of inspiration, right? And again, sort of, my goal, and hopefully this is what I would like to accomplish through the podcast, right, is bringing people on like yourself, super interesting people, and just having them inspire other people to pursue certain things, whether even just one part of the podcast resonates with them. I think it's really important to pay attention to the factors outside of ourselves that influence us. And, I think you're so right. Just seeing other people doing that is a big motivator, and was for me as well, I think subconsciously too. So, and then the second part being just that we all have things that are, again, out sort of our main box. Maybe we do spend the majority of our time doing something like, for you, quantitative analytical stuff, which we're going to get to. But just paying attention to those parts of yourselves that are a little bit less developed, so that's really awesome, man.
Definitely. Yeah.
Dude, good stuff. And so now on the operations, research, and financial engineering side, can you just sort of explain that to the lay person, AKA me? Because I actually entered Princeton and somebody told me like, oh, go check out ORFE. So they call it ORFE, Operations, Research, and Financial Engineering. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this with pre-med because it looks so high powered and really rigorous. And I know we've talked about that. But could you just explain that to the listener of sort of what that's about in layman's terms?
Sure. I've been asked this question so many times. And it's not an easy one to answer. So it's ORFE, we call it, like you said, Operations, Research, and Financial Engineering. It's a huge mouthful, but it sounds really cool, which is part of the draw for sure.
For sure.
And basically, I would say it's kind of like a combination of finance, math, computer science, statistics, kind of all wrapped up. So like some of the classes I've taken have been just like financial mathematics or optimization or statistics. Just like, and obviously I took the engineering prereqs with like linear algebra and multivariable calculus, like the very like mathematical stuff. And then I've also taken a class called networks, which was kind of exploring like a Facebook network, like a social network, and like looking at like, like the major nodes in a network and how network effects take shape, like where if you have two friends connected here, you're more likely to see the third mutual friend connect, yada, yada. And I took a class called Transportation Systems Analysis, which was all about like self-driving cars and the future of autonomous vehicles. So you can see like there's a couple different kind of paths you can take within ORFE, where it's more like kind of your typical like either finance or statistics degree. Or you can also like branch out and see kind of like the more applicable sides. So like I mentioned, the two classes I took that are more applicable. There's a class on like venture capital. There's a class on like there's entrepreneurship overlap. So there's a lot of ways you could kind of go with it.
And what ways are you hoping to pursue, and why?
Yeah, I would say like coming in, like I just went into ORFE because I was like a math guy. So I just went into it. I didn't know. And growing up in northern New Jersey, like there's a lot of business and finance around you. So I've always kind of known I wanted to maybe do something in that realm. And now as I like really start to want to like figure out exactly what I want to do, I'm thinking consulting, or like working at a startup. And then eventually like probably starting my own business, or doing something in business and entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Um, further down the line, also I could see myself working in like an NBA front office, something like that.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
combining like, yeah, like basketball and business.
Mhm.
So it's still up in the air right now,
Right.
but that's kind of where I'm looking for the future.
Super awesome. Definitely don't have to know what you want to pursue 100% at this point. I don't think any of us really do. So it's interesting to hear just your thoughts about it. And have any of your work or abroad, like I know you studied abroad or you just had a summer experience abroad, summer
Summer abroad,
experience.
yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that and sort of what you learned from that? And has that influenced your thoughts on your career pathway? It's okay if not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a summer in Kenya
Mhm.
doing something completely outside of my degree, which was working on farms, trying to help implement like irrigation systems.
Yep.
So I did like a little bit of like cost benefit analysis, like seeing like how the old ones lined up with the new ones and how they compared financially. But
Mhm.
really it was just about like connecting with the Kenyan farmers and like taking like water samples and dirt samples and stuff like that and kind of getting my hands dirty. And it was like the best summer of my life. So much fun.
Really?
Yeah, I got to see so many like cool animals. Like we were like this close to a lion. Like I
Wow.
swear the lion was like walking right by our Jeep.
Yeah.
And that's just awesome. But it didn't really have anything to do with like my career, and I think
Mhm.
that's okay. I think that's
Yeah,
okay. Like
for sure.
I'm definitely envious of people who kind of like have had the plan since freshman year. Like, you're pre-med, you want to be a doctor. Maybe you don't know exactly what type, but
Mhm.
like that is kind of an enviable position.
For
But
sure.
I've made peace with the idea that like I haven't known exactly what I wanted to do, but like that doesn't mean all these experiences aren't valuable for what they
Mhm.
are.
Mhm. I really like that, bro. And you know, I've thought about this myself that I think my personality type lends me a little bit to medicine because frankly, I don't know if I'm brave enough to be, so open to all the different possibilities and different paths that I could take. Like to some degree, having that one path really is comforting for me. And I think it's a little bit easier than what you're doing. So I really applaud people who open themselves up a little bit more um, to those possibilities. But that being said, I definitely still need to practice intentionality within this track. So that's another thing to think about is like, even if you have a predefined set of, boundaries of where I could be, like I'm going to be in medicine, I'm trying to practice more of those skills like that somebody like yourself has, or somebody who's not in the medical field, of really paying attention to what I enjoy and what I care about so that I don't end up in a specialty just sort of like absent-mindedly or doing something that I wasn't thinking hard enough about. So yeah, I just draw definitely some inspiration from your courage, like going out into the brave unknown, dude.
It's yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. You say I'm brave. I feel like it would be daunting to be in your position because
Interesting.
since freshman year you were pre-med, like right from
Yeah.
the beginning. You've freshman year, you're 18, 19-year old, and you're looking at this path that's stretching out until you're 30.
Right.
And that's like it's kind of like the poster behind you. It's like you're on that path and like that's all you've got. So for me, it's easier for me to be somewhere where I've got like 8 different paths I can still go. So the options are open.
Mm,
And maybe it's just like my personality type is more suited for something like that, where like I feel like I still have a lot of options. So I'm comfortable. Whereas like knowing that I'd be just like right here for 10 years,
mm,
it would be like, wow, I can't even see the end. And that would
mm.
kind of scare me. So it's just whatever works.
Bro, you're very kind. I don't know if it was naivete though on my part, where I'm just like, okay, like let me just sell my 20s to medicine. But
Did you want to become is someone in your family a doctor? Is your mom a doctor?
yep, my
Was
mom's a
that kind
primary
of
care doctor. Yes,
is
sir.
that what made you want to go pre-med?
I think like honestly, first time somebody's asked me a question on the pod. I love it, bro. I love it. We're going back and forth. I'm loving it. I think I've had it in me. There's like this story about how I sweet talked a nurse to like give me a vial of my blood when I got like my blood drawn one time, and I was like, "Oh, it's my blood." And I was like 8 years old, and
Okay,
I didn't
nice.
even know my mom was a doctor at that point, and I was so into it. So I think I had the science interest and the clinical application of science interest, but then yeah, like just seeing my mom do what she does is really inspiring, and um, I think, yeah, it was sort of like combining the motherly influence with the natural influence, which probably came from my mom, you know? So yeah, I got to give my mom the credit. My mom's like, I'm appearing on every one of your podcasts. I'm like, yes, I'm a good son for you, mom. Um, but yeah, man, I think like it's always been medicine for me the whole way, which is maybe unique, maybe not. I'm not sure.
That's real cool. Yeah, I get that though. I get that.
Yeah. So very, very interesting, bro. Okay. Now, I think the next question I really want to hear about is this gap year that you've taken.
Mm.
I think it really dovetails with a lot of what we've been talking about, all your other interests, right? You've committed to basketball, and I know there wasn't an Ivy League basketball season this year, or
Correct.
there wasn't an Ivy League
There's
basketball
not.
season, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't miss any of that. But you still missed, I don't know if guys are having workouts now or just being around each other. You missed some of that. You've missed, these other interests that you have, although a lot of it's virtual, probably like the playwright stuff. But you gave up a lot, right? You gave up things to pursue this gap year. And so could you just talk about, why you did that and just how it's been, what you've been up to?
Yeah, for sure. The gap year, everyone was talking about like, oh, you're going to take a gap year, you're going to take a gap year back in June, July,
Mm,
when Princeton was releasing their plans for the fall. And it turned out no one was going to be on campus. And I hadn't even thought about taking a gap year ever. And then when it was, floated by my parents too, my parents were like, oh, you want to think about it? I
mm,
was like, you know what? It actually could be a really cool opportunity. And the reason I ended up doing it was threefold, really. It was like, A, obviously wanted to play my last year of Princeton basketball at Princeton.
duh. Yeah. Duh.
And we didn't know if there'd be a season. It looked kind of unlikely, and I guess it was kind of a lucky break that we didn't have it. Though of course I feel bad for my guys who like didn't have a season.
Hmm.
But it just ended up working out. So I'll get to play one more year next year. That'll be
Hmm.
awesome. And then I felt like there were a lot of cool things I could do on a gap year that like you just can't do otherwise. And so that was one reason where I was like, this is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's go for it.
Mm,
And then three, just like virtual school is tough. And like I've lived with a bunch of friends this semester and the past semester who are in virtual school.
hmm.
And it's just not the same. You see it like on Tiger Confessions and talking to people. It's just not the same.
Hmm.
And not everyone like has the means to take a gap year or like is in the position to take a gap year. And I was
Absolutely.
just like set up in a good spot. So it kind of made sense for me.
Yeah. Got it. And so, again, it's sort of that courage, right? You're facing the unknown. It's really awesome. And what have you done so far? Have you done any like professional development? What have you been spending your time really doing? Yeah, because like for me, I'm on a gap year and I have this job that takes up, the 9 to 5. But how have you been filling your days, and what was sort of your approach to that process of trying to figure that out?
Right. Yeah. So in the fall, I kind of got lucky, fell into a cool internship
Okay.
with this esports tech company.
Mm,
They're called Rival Games. They're partnered with like a bunch of NBA teams and Premier League soccer teams, and they basically host like video game tournaments for them online. And they're like a super new startup. Like I was there when they were running their very first tournament. I was doing like account management and biz dev stuff, kind of
mhm,
just helping out wherever. It was like a working with like 12 to 15 guys. So that was really cool. I
mm,
did that from September to December. So got like 3 months of good experience,
mhm.
and then felt it was kind of time to move on. And then in the winter, so for the past 3 months, I've kind of been just like living life, working out,
As you should.
playing chess,
Mhm.
like hanging with friends. I got lucky and like I've been living with the same group of friends in Fire Island, New York, which is like this
Okay.
island off the coast of Long Island, Ocean City, New Jersey, down by the shore,
Mhm,
and then in the Trenton area.
mhm,
So we've lived in three kind of cool different places, and like I've gotten to hang out with them.
mhm.
And then now in 2 weeks, I'm planning a bike trip across the country. So that'll
Right.
be kind of like a nice capstone for the year off. So
Yeah.
it's been pretty full, and then hopefully it'll end up as like a very full year,
Yeah.
and I'll be ready and refreshed to like come back to school.
Absolutely. I love that. You got some work experience in, which is great, but you've also had the courage to just take some time to like do you and not feel like you always have to be producing something. the past 3 months at least, it seems. And I don't know, for me, I felt like this gap year was a great way to step off sort of like the rat wheel of, productivity and churn, 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 go, go, go. At least in medicine, I don't know if you've had that feeling. I can imagine you might as like a D1 student athlete, but I think it's just an important time to, or a great opportunity to step back and think about like what's really important to you. And that's not really easy. It's been hard for me. I don't know. Has it been hard for you at any stage? Has it been all sunshine and rainbows, or how's it been?
No, definitely. I will say like a great opportunity, which is why I did it. It hasn't been easy, especially on days where like maybe I wake up a little late, I get a workout in, I get lunch with a friend. All of a sudden it's 3 o'clock and I haven't really done anything with my day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like fighting that like anxiety. It's like, oh shoot, am I like wasting time? Am I wasting my gap year?
Yeah.
um and then like also like it's been tough seeing all my friends who are going through school and they're about to finish.
Mm,
It's like it hasn't even really hit me like I'm going to see all these graduation pictures and like I won't be there. So
yeah.
those would be like the toughest parts of it, like that feeling that you're kind of getting left behind in some capacity. But at the end of the day, like I know that I made the right decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been just like an awesome year, and like you said, like a really cool opportunity. And like you're not really going to have this opportunity the rest of your life. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to hit med school and then you become a doctor, and it's like, yeah, you're in that wheel a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. So I just got lucky that like I was able to take 1 year off, reset myself, and
Right.
I'll be like ready to get back into it next year.
Absolutely. I think, like you were talking about that anxiety of like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to produce something. I remember like, so I had the 9 to 5 and then I had the med school applications I was working on at night and then all weekend. So like for a few months, I was literally just go, go, go in the gap year. And then it sounds corny, man, but really it's real when you've been grinding so hard for so long. Like I had my first Saturday open after I like did all my apps and I had no work. And I was just like, wow, I'm such a loser. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's tough. You got to
it's
find a
like,
hobby.
you gotta, that's it. That's it. And then I was like classic type A. What is my hobby? I need to find my hobby. I don't have a hobby. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, I think just seeing that and learning to laugh at myself, like, oh my God, like what a grinder, like learn to chill and cultivate these other parts of yourself. And sounds like you've been really doing that. Um, and I know how hard that is. So definitely resonated with me. Uh,
Yeah, it's been a fun hobby that I picked up a little bit is rock climbing.
okay. Talk to me.
George is my friend, my
Yep.
roommate. He was your thesis fairy for a hot sec last year.
For like two
He
seconds before the
Yeah, two
pandemic.
seconds.
Yeah.
But we found like this cool rock climbing place like 10 minutes from the place we were living in Trenton a couple weeks ago, and we would go
Okay.
like every other day, and it was just so much fun. It's like it's
Yeah.
a good workout. I haven't been able to get into like a gym in
Mhm.
a year now.
Mhm.
Like I have not squatted a back squat in a
Right.
year.
Right. Me
I have
neither.
not no bench press. Like it's weird. I've got my dumbbells. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So the rock climbing was like it's like a great like back shoulder workout,
Mhm.
core. Like it's such a good workout. It's fun.
Mhm.
Like hand strength is huge.
Mhm.
So like we've been having fun doing that.
That's really cool. Have you seen the Free Solo documentary on Netflix, man? Or
Of
Disney
course.
Plus? Disney Plus.
Yeah, actually George and I saw it in theaters like 2 years ago whenever it came out.
Well, for the listeners, this is just this super heart pounding, like adrenaline rush documentary about this guy who does solo rock climbing. It's called free soloing, right? Where you don't have a rope, no harness. And this guy climbed whatever it's called. I forget the mountain, but it's an
Yeah, El
absurd
Cap.
mountain. El Cap, absurd mountain. So
Yeah.
that had me shook. I don't know how you felt when you were watching it, but
He's a freak. It's crazy. No ropes. No ropes. I mean, I don't know how he does it.
I don't, me
But he's
neither,
really
dude.
impressive. Also, there's another
Yeah.
documentary you should check. It's called Meru, Meru.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this team that they climb with ropes. They
Mm-hmm.
climb some mountain in like Nepal or some area,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on the mountain. It's like super snowy and cold, and they like sleep in the tent on the side of the mountain, and it's all about how like, you know, their trials, and like they failed once and they come back. And this one dude, like, you have to see it, he has like a stroke on the side of the mountain, like thousands of feet up, and then they wake up and he's like good to go. And it's just like the absolute craziest story of all time.
Oh my
You should really check it out.
Maru, I gotta check it out. Maybe he had that
Yeah.
stroke from just lack of oxygen or something at the top of the
It's a
mountain.
crazy story. You should, yeah. I mean, medically wise, like
Right.
it seemed like a miracle,
Mm.
honestly.
I think, bro, it's really cool to hear you say that you've been getting into rock climbing, because for me, like there's a certain way of working out and a certain, approach to exercise that I feel like is cultivated within the basketball sphere. So we're both basketball players. And so, you know, a lot of it was that weight centric stuff. We were working on plyometrics and all these other things, just a pretty certain way of exercising. And I think for me, part of my transition was trying to find ways to motivate myself to exercise when I didn't have basketball as like what I was working for. Because before, I looked at the gym as sort of this means to like make me a better basketball player. And
Hmm.
once I stopped playing basketball, I was like, I couldn't find the motivation to go to the gym, So I think for me, that different kind of exercise that I've been getting into is, I don't even know what to call it, but it's more like playful and like free range exercise where you're working on, like they call it like primal flow. So like different movements that um, you do on the ground and stuff. So I've been doing all like body weight things, and it's like sort of yoga and like strength and conditioning, but also mobility. So I don't even know what to call it, but all that's to say is it's cool to explore different kinds of exercise that you enjoy. And for me, that was important to like not see it as a to do, but something to enjoy. And so maybe rock climbing's that for you on the gap year. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you though. Like you said, like basketball, in terms of basketball, like we do a lot of like the same lifts, the same movement patterns. And I feel like I've been weakened in like some areas just because I'm always like moving in the same way. And I've
Hmm.
heard about primal flow. I've never like done like an actual class, or I don't know. Do you take classes in it?
So
Have
I
you?
have this sort of like online membership. It's not that bad. It's only like 50 a month, and I use it every day. So I get good
Uh-huh.
bang for my buck. I'll send you some free vids on YouTube of just exploring this different way, like trying to get better. Like they do a lot of, they call it bear crawls on the floor, is a great way to like work on your core strength as well as your conditioning too, as opposed
Hmm.
to just running on the court. So it's just different ways to exercise. But yeah, I'll send you some. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just think it's like really important to be moving in different ways.
Yeah.
And like there's a guy I follow on Instagram who's like super strong. He bear crawled a full marathon in November, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, bear crawled. It was crazy.
Wow.
His hands were like so messed up. I mean, he had been training for months.
Right.
But and so like ever since I saw that, I've been trying to bear crawl more just because I saw him doing it. I thought like that's just a great way to
Hmm.
do cardio in a different manner, because I think
Yeah.
it's just really important to figure out different ways to move.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm thinking like, what's the next thing that I want to explore? I don't know if I want to get into martial arts or anything. I don't know if I'm too tall for that or like, or anything, but I don't know.
I think
Like
they
you
just
said,
they just wouldn't let you in. They just wouldn't let you in. They're like,
no,
ah, he's too
I
tall.
don't know if I'll be bad at it. Right. Like, cause I'm so bad
Hmm.
at certain things, like trying to ride a skateboard. I just feel like I'm too tall. I'm sure people who are my height do it, but I have this narrative in my head that I can't do it. But so
Hmm.
yeah, man, very cool. And sort of on that topic of different exercise that you're working on, man, one of the coolest things that I've seen is that you're about to bike across America, and you mentioned this.
Hmm.
Um, so, well, I just need to hear everything about this, right? One, what motivated you to do this, and especially, I think you're raising money for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, I believe.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
NAMI. You're doing it with another Princeton athlete, I believe. What
Yep.
is their name? I forget.
Maddie Plank. So she's a woman on the women's basketball team.
Great.
And she's also on a gap year.
Also on a gap year. And so we'll just start there. Yeah, like what motivated you to do this, and then to raise money for that cause, and then I'll ask some more questions about it.
Yeah. I guess like, typically on a gap year, people love to say like, oh, I'm gonna go travel the world and like expand my horizons. Obviously with COVID, like, not super possible to travel at all. And then even if you got somewhere, like a lot of things are shut down. So I was looking for other ways to kind of travel. And then in coordination with that, I was talking to kind of a friend and mentor of mine who's an older guy who works in Princeton. And I was connected through an uncle, whatever, and he was talking, and I was like, what should I do on my gap year? And he's like, well, if it was me, I would bike across the country. And I was like, well, that sounds kind of cool. Well, tell me about it. And so then he started talking to me about it, and he showed me like, bike trips. Bike packing is like such a huge thing, and it's like a niche community that I never heard of. So that got me going. And then I was talking with Maddie, who was also taking a gap year, and I was like, what do you think you're gonna do? And she said something, and I was like, this guy said to bike across the country. I kind of want to do it. And she said, no way, I want to do that too.
Boom.
And I was like, all right, perfect, let's do it together then. So we've been thinking about this since literally like August, like before this school year even started.
Okay.
And we've been talking about it. I think it was kind of a joke at first, but then after like a month or two, we were like, all right, so we're actually doing this, right? Yeah. She was like, yeah. So now it's happening in 2 weeks. April 10th we start.
Dude, okay. Very, very interesting. And again, you're just diving out into unknown. It's so awesome just to watch it. And so you've been at it, you've been planning since August or September for this?
Yeah, thinking about it, planning. We formulated like a route in September and October, and we've been like watching videos and stuff. And I think the real chunk of the planning has come in the last 2 months, maybe, where we're getting our gear. Some of it's still coming in as we speak.
Yeah.
So that's like, obviously a bike, panniers we're going to use. Panniers are bags that are on the back of the bike. So you don't have to carry anything on your back. Like there's no backpacks.
Oh.
Yeah, no backpacks, because it's like hard to ride like that for so many miles. So you put bags on the bike, you hook them in, making sure you have like warm base layers and stuff to, because so we're also going to be like camping a lot of nights. So like some nights we'll stay at a motel, some nights we'll stay at like a family or friend's house, but some nights we'll be camping.
Yeah.
So you need to have like the warm weather for like 30-degree nights, in PA in April, or like when we're crossing the Rockies in May, it'll be cold. You also have to have like stuff that can function during the day, like on an 80-degree summer day.
Right.
It's getting like repair kits, like making sure we have like stuff like chargers and stuff so that our phone doesn't die, and like a bike computer. So it's assembling all that. That's what we've been doing the last couple of months. And we've got our route planned, and we decided, like you said, to ride for an AMI. I don't know if it's NAMI or NAMI, but we've just like, especially with the pandemic, we've seen a lot of people who have had mental health struggles. And like I was like, had no idea about like any type of mental health struggle going through high school. Like I was very sheltered. Coming to Princeton, like hearing people speak so openly about like what they've been through and how they kind of combat it has been really cool to see. And I just feel like it's like something that is a huge issue in society that people aren't comfortable enough talking about, and like people are getting more comfortable. The stigma is being broken down a little bit, I'd say, but like we just wanted to kind of support this cause because we thought it was really important.
Good for you, man. I think using your platform as a Princeton, student, but also as a student athlete, is people are going to listen to you and they're going to pay attention. And it takes voices like yours and your friends. I'm forgetting her name. What was her name? Maddie. Just takes voices like you guys. So good for you for pushing that conversation forward, because, I can definitely agree with all of that and see where that's coming from. So good for you on that front. And then you mentioned you're going to be sleeping on the side of the road sometimes motels. How are you going to cook? Have you what are you going to do? You're going to have like a portable, I don't even know. A portable what? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, we've got a portable stove.
Okay.
So that's like some nights we'll do that. And like they sell, like there are companies that sell like meals in like a package, and you just like put it on the stove. We'll also, some nights we'll like stop at like a little diner in town. Some nights it'll be just like power bars, or like during the day, especially power bars and trail mix, like to get you through the day. But you burn obviously a ton of calories. We're going to be riding like 65 miles a day on average. It'll take about 70 days. So you're going to be burning upwards of 2,000 calories easy. So we're going to have to make sure we're fueling in the morning, making sure we're snacking during the day, and getting a good meal at the end of the day too. So that's kind of what we're thinking for now. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you about that. So it's about 65 miles a day. Have you been obviously training for this? And if so, what's that training like? And kind of going back to what we were talking about before, it's a far different exercise than working on your basketball game. And then are you also, I mean, it seems like you're not worried about this, which always fascinated me. Like you went to Kenya, really didn't have a hoop much at all in Kenya, and you were still hooping when you came back because you're a legend. I don't know how you do that, but for me, I lose my basketball touch so quickly. So are you just like kind of smooth sailing, going with the flow, not worried about that?
I think I'm not worried about it because we'll be getting back end of June. And so
Yeah.
from there, it's at least 2 months before I'm even back on campus.
Right.
And
Right.
I will definitely lose a lot of the ability, but I'll be
Mhm.
able to gain it back pretty quick too.
Agreed.
And I think the thing that we're most worried about is like when you're biking so many miles every day in that same motion, we'll probably lose a lot of like our jumping ability and also lateral movement.
Mhm.
So we've been like really cognizant of making sure that we're stretching before and after, and like we're gonna make sure we're doing slides and jumps and stuff to
Mhm.
keep some of that basketball specific ability still there.
Mhm.
I have been training. My friends tell me not enough, but I'm feeling pretty good. I just did that 50-mile ride where I sent you that picture of Conshohocken. I
Yes,
was passing
sir.
through to the listeners. I was passing through Mike's hometown on my ride up the Schuylkill River in Philly,
Schuylkill.
and passed through Conshohocken out to Valley Forge. So I did a little over 50 miles that day, and I've done a ton of like 30 milers.
Mhm.
And now with 2 weeks to go, this week I'm planning like a couple 60 milers. But at the end of the day, it's not a race. Like
Right.
whether we get done in 65 days or 80 days, it's kind of irrelevant. If one of us is hurting a little bit, we take that day off. Some
Mhm.
days we'll have like tailwinds where the wind is like carrying you and we might go 80 or 90 miles. So like we're just going to take it day by day, and it's not a race. All we're doing is biking. So we're going to wake up with the sun, start biking and see where we
Mhm.
go, you know?
Mhm.
So it's not, if it was speed based, that would be more concerning. I'd be needing to put in more time, I think.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's just like my butt needs to be ready to be sitting on that bike for so
Yes,
many
sir.
hours. That's the
Yes,
biggest key.
sir. Dude, I love the approach. I think you're gonna be just fine. You can definitely do it. Um, are you gonna be listening to any podcasts, any music, anything you're planning for like how many hours are you gonna do a day?
I
8-ish?
know it's
Nine,
like six to
10?
eight,
6 to 8.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about like a phone battery dying because
Right.
like the phone's gonna be really important. We may not have chargers every night. I'm concerned about an AirPod falling out. I was actually recently like riding the other day, and AirPod fell out. I spent like 20 minutes looking for it because it
Oh,
like disappeared into the grass. I'm concerned about like making sure we're listening out for traffic. So I still don't know if I'm going to be listening to music or podcasts, or sometimes we'll be able to ride next to each other and talk, which will be nice. But if you're on the road, you got to ride single file. So probably a lot of time in my own thoughts, a lot of time to kind of self-reflect, which will be cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, not gonna have it all figured out. You're gonna figure it out as you go.
Right.
Really, really inspiring to me. And actually, a cool thing is that I don't know if my cousin's listening to this right now, but the cousin that played lax at Don Bosco, so Charlie's high school,
Mm-hmm.
he actually did this summer. He biked across the country. So
Really?
I feel like that's a great reason to put you guys in touch, even though we already had great reasons before that. So if you want to ask
Mm-hmm.
him any questions, because he literally just did this, so maybe he'll have some tips and tricks to avoid,
Oh,
at least small pains. I know there's going to be some major butt pains in general, but
that
you
would be
know,
fantastic. Do you know where he rode from? And two, what was his route kind of like? Do you know?
he must have started in DC because that's where
Okay.
he's in law school in DC. So I think he ended up in Seattle, something like that, or
Yep.
maybe
Okay, cool.
Seattle's not the farthest west, but like right up there, northwest.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
we're planning to end.
okay.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely put you guys in touch because he had a whole Instagram just like you guys. It was really fun to watch him, and I'm sure he's a changed guy because of it, just like you both will.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun no matter what, even through the pains. Hopefully we'll look back on it and only remember the good stuff. That's what everyone says.
Yeah,
Kind of forget about the bad stuff, or it's got like the rose tinted
yeah.
filter. So it'll be good.
It's one of those things you'll always remember, man. Like, all the way to the future when you're 80 and you're old, like you're gonna definitely look back on this and smile. So I'm excited to follow your journey, man. What's the Instagram for everybody listening, and any Facebooks? Do you have a GoFundMe too-ish? Do you have a
Yeah,
GoFundMe?
it is. So it's NAMI coast to coast. The two is the number two.
Okay.
NAMI coast to coast. On the Instagram, you can find our website, which is also NAMI coast to coast. 2 is the number 2
Mhm.
.wixsite.com/website, whatever. You can find all that on the Instagram. And yeah, we have not a GoFundMe. It's just like a donation page on
Okay.
NAMI's website. It's on our website, the link. So if anyone feels like, they want to support mental health awareness and that sort of thing, we'd be really appreciative if anyone donated. But yeah, so we're doing this to have a fun adventure. We're doing this for the cause. We're doing this to kind of see all of the US, broaden our perspectives a little bit. So it'll be a good, well-rounded trip, we hope.
Brother, I'm really inspired. Always been inspired by you, and this is even more inspirational. So just can't wait to watch your journey, man. And I'll definitely be rooting for you guys. And bro, it's been over an hour already. I think we're close to an hour.
Oh,
And
wow.
the time
Okay.
has flown, man. It's always a
It
pleasure to
has
talk to
flown.
you, dude. Always.
Bro, when I saw that they were all an hour, I was like, what is he going to talk to me about for an hour? But this has been great. I'm glad we got to catch up a little bit.
Bro, you and all the other guests are so interesting. So I feel like I could jab on forever and ever. So I'm trying to keep it,
Hmm.
keep it contained to an hour, but we got to have you back on. Always got some interesting takes and interesting things going on, bro. So just can't wait to see how the trip goes.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And one last thing, who you got winning March Madness? Have you been following?
Bro, I've been following, I don't know as much this year. I think COVID threw a wrench in my following, but I have
Ooh.
Gonzaga winning, kind of a basic pick, but they're just so dominant right now. Undefeated. I think the last time an undefeated team entered the tournament without Duke or Kentucky, they won. So I think that was Bobby Knight in 1974 or something. So
With Indiana. Yeah.
I think they're going to do it. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I'm a statistics guy, like we've talked about. Gonzaga hasn't lost yet, so I'm just going with the odds-on favorite. Like
Right.
they're really good. I think they're a great team. I don't see a reason to pick anyone else. Baylor's really good too.
Right.
But I'm going with Gonzaga for sure.
And I think the revenge, right? Like I'm a big psychology guy. Like
Uh
they
huh.
lost to UNC in I believe like 2017, something like that. So
Hmm.
you often see those rebounds, those rebound games from losing in the chip to coming back to the chip. Oftentimes a team will win that unless you're like the Bills in the
Man,
90s or
they've.
something. But you know what I mean?
Yep. Those poor guys. But Gonzaga's been so close for like 2 decades now. Like they've
Right.
got to get one.
And with Duke
Have
and
to.
Kentucky out of the fold, I feel like they're probably putting pressure on themselves. Like if they don't win, they're gonna be pissed. So I think they've got it. I think so. We'll see
Agreed.
though. We'll see,
Yeah.
man. Well, good stuff, brother. Always a
All
pleasure to
right,
have you
bro.
on and can't wait to talk soon.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I'll see
Yes,
you.
sir. Peace.